Hello, everyone. I'm Larry Walsh, and this is Changing Channels. At Channelnomics, we've been talking about customer experience for a while. Customers definitely want to have better experiences. They want to get greater value from their technology investments. And this goes beyond the initial purchase or even going through the experience of the sales process. It's about what they get out of the totality of the relationship, both with the vendors and with the partners with whom they're sourcing. They want to have better outcomes that drive and help their businesses. And this is also happening at a time when many partners are looking for vendor relationships that are easier, that they're looking for simplified programs through which they can move products and purchases faster. These two objectives are not easy. They take a lot of work in order to both craft into programs and then execute. And one vendor that is doing that now is Lenovo. So Lenovo recently updated its Lenovo 360 partner program. And the goal of it really is to emphasize services, emphasize the outcome-based selling, and make it easier for partners to work with Lenovo and to service their customers simultaneously. And through this, lifting up their sales prospects as well as their ability to generate revenue and more profitability. Now, it's ambitious, and I would probably say still a work in progress like every other vendor that goes through something like this. But Lenovo has a few key lessons because they are committed to driving all business through their partners and working with partners to help capitalize on market opportunities as well as ensure the customers get what they need. So to learn more about what Lenovo is doing, we've invited Wade McFarland, the Vice President of Channels for North America, to come join us here on Changing Channels to tell us what they're doing with the updated Lenovo 360 program. This is Changing Channels. I'm Larry Walsh. Let's get into it. Wade McFarland, thanks for joining us here on Changing Channels.
Thanks for having me.
So Wade, first of all, you're fairly new to Lenovo. I mean, under a year, and you're also, part of this, part of the team shepherding in the updates to the 360 program. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about what's happening at Lenovo? Let's set the stage of what these changes of the Lenovo 360 really are.
Yeah, look, I think it's about how we simplify the program, how we, are really trying to get our most successful partners around, winning in a market outcome-led model, right? And how do we get our partners to really solve business problems, reducing costs and accelerating AI adoption, modernizing infrastructure. And I really think that the hardware becomes part of the solution, but not really the strategy itself, right? And I think at Lenovo, we increasingly view partner success through a broader lens. Can they attach services? Can they create recurring value? Can they simplify complexity for our customers? And I think, can they help customers realize value faster? And I think those that are becoming stronger indicators of long-term success of resale value alone. So I think the channel is evolving from fulfillment to influence, from moving boxes to more moving business outcomes. And I think, with 360, that's what we're continuing to drive.
Well, first of all, I agree with you. I think the customers really do want better experiences. They want to recognize more value, and not just value in what they purchase, but value over the life cycle of its use. Whether it's a PC, a server, or a cloud service, it doesn't really matter. They want the totality of the experience. And we hear a lot about selling on outcomes, but help us out here, Wade. What do you mean by in outcomes in a typical Lenovo reseller experience? In that context, you have partners that are just selling PCs. You have partners that are just selling servers or storage. You have partners that sell across the portfolio. So what does outcome mean?
Yeah, look, I think it's, how are our customers solving real digital problems or real digital outcomes for our customers? I think to your point, historically, it has been, are we selling endpoint devices? Are we selling server? Are we selling storage? Are we selling services? So how are we driving to sell an outcome in a total solution to a customer. I think that's what we're trying to enable our partners to go out there and drive and sell to their customers and sell it profitably, right? It's a true digital outcome is what customers are looking for these days.
I and the part of the revamping or the updating of the Lenovo 360 program really does lean into services. And I think it's important for for people to understand that services really aren't just a what we used to consider to be managed services. They really are about customer success now.
Right.
So, tell us a little bit about what Lenovo is aiming for in terms of emphasizing and enabling services for the partners.
Yeah. So we expanded our services led strategy with Lenovo 360 for services, which is really a dedicated pathway designed to help partners transition from transactional selling to reoccurring outcome based business models. As the customer demand shifts towards like lifecycle services, hybrid environments, AI driven solutions, I think the partners are looking to build new capabilities while scaling profitability. So our Lenovo 360 tier brings Lenovo's service portfolio together, including our TrueScale, our DWS, or what are our digital workspace solutions and lifecycle services into a single structured partner experience, right? I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Look, our SSG business is 5 consecutive years of profitable growth. We grew 2x the overall IT services market in FY26. And I think with services becoming a key driver of long-term value, Lenovo is aligning enablement and incentives and tools to help partners, attach, scale, and monetize these services effectively.
Look, it's good to hear Lenovo paying attention to that. And services are not new to Lenovo or or your partners. I mean, you've been emphasizing services for a long time. But I think from now, when you're looking at this, there's a lot of economic pressures on both your customers and your partners. There's supply chain disruptions, there's escalating costs. If I hear one more time about the memory shortage is going to persist for another year, I'm just going to say, okay, it's going to be 2 years, and that's just going to complicate things even more. Um, but services really do drive the profitability equation for the partners. So, did you look at that and say, okay, yes, there's an endemic benefit that comes from selling Lenovo products if I'm a partner, but here's the upside from the services that can be attached to it that really does amplify the go to market value between you and the partner.
Yeah, look, 100%. I think, you know, we're the solutions or the services attached or the reoccurring life cycle and not just a product volume. I think the account teams are being reoriented from transactional selling to selling growth orchestration, helping partners identify opportunities, build capabilities across the full Lenovo portfolio. And I think the broader goal for us is consistency, right? Ensuring Lenovo's internal behaviors, our tools, our rewards, all support the same, outcome driven approach and being encouraged to sell across the full partner ecosystem.
Is the updates, or I should say, are the updates
Mhm.
it's always better to use proper English. Are the updates to Lenovo 360 also a recognition that the customer has changed? That, look, if I'm going to go in, you know, it used to be if I would go to you and say, look, I want to buy a pallet of ThinkPads.
Yeah,
That's just a procurement process. The
right.
procurement manager would do it. You do it under contract. Maybe the IT department would get into it with specs. But is this also a recognition that the executive leadership and the line of business leaders really do have more of a say and more of a choice in the preferences and what they determine to be good outcomes influencing the buying cycle?
Yeah, I think absolutely. And I think, our sellers and our partner sellers are selling probably more to the CFO and the CTO than they ever have before. Um, and look, I think that, we all need to continue to invest in technical enablement and really where is the strength coming from, right? And I think that if you look at it's not coming from one technology, I think it's coming from convergence. And I think the partners that are winning today are the ones that are moving from being infrastructure implementers to being able to, sell AI, hybrid, security, and measurable business outcomes. But I think probably the biggest gap is still talent. And so you think, the market is demanding architects who understand AI, containers, networking, storage, cloud economics. And I think that talent is scarce and it's expensive, and so I think many partners are struggling to kind of scale that technical talent fast enough to keep pace with customer expectations, especially in this kind of AI evolution. And so one of the things that we're doing is we're doubling down there, especially in North America. We're trying to add more capacity and around our CSEs or our channel solution executives that we can go help win the hearts and minds of not just the sellers, but also the technical folks at the partners. I often find those are the ones that are tailoring the right solution for the customer. And so we've got to make investments there around enablement and training and engagement with our, technical folks.
I I'm glad you said that because that was going to be the next thing I wanted to ask you about is that a lot of things that you were talking about here, be outcome based selling, trying to define value propositions based on business utilization.
Yeah.
I've actually had some people have come to us looking for guidance on, well, how do you sell against consumption and making sure that this is not just, obviously a little bit of a different problem, different issue for you because everything runs through your machines, but they want to know how do they make sure that what they're selling is being used. And a lot of that, when we talk about enablement,
Yeah.
that's changing a lot of behaviors. So there's a mindset that has to change with it, whether it's a salesperson or a sales engineer or even a partner business owner. How do you approach that with the types of training and enablement you're talking about within the updated program?
Yeah, look, I think we just need to continue to leach in, enable. I mean, we're also enabling our teams here, right? I'm trying to upskill our talent who has historically probably been more focused on endpoint solutions. So, we're offering our training that we're using internally to our partners engineers. But I think it's a conversation of it's not one or the other. Right? So we need to go in and have a sales conversation around OpEx selling and CapEx selling, and really what is the right solution for the customer. I don't think it's an and or. I think it's being able to go out there and position them both in the right way in terms of what works for the customer.
I love hearing that because ultimately, I've like I'm surprised at how many times I have to remind people that the only person in this go to market equation that has money is the
Yeah,
customer,
yeah, yeah,
and that money flows back uphill through the channel up to the vendor. Um, but even the customer now is having a hard time defining, well, what is it exactly is that experience that they're looking for? And you as a vendor, and I'm not saying that this is the way it is, but you as a vendor and your partners along the way also have the pressure of making numbers.
yeah,
So you have to make your number, every 3 months you come up against that wall and you driving your partner in that direction. So when we start talking about driving towards business outcomes, that always going to be that bit of friction of, yes, I want to satisfy for the customer need. I want to work with the customer even to help them understand the things that they don't know. But at some point, there's that conflict of, I just gotta make the sale. So
yeah.
how do you balance that? How do you balance that out?
I think we always start, like you said, with the customer first, and I think everything will take care of itself there. Again, I don't. I think not trying to shove a square peg into a round hole, right? Again, I think we have options and what is the best option for that customer and how do we enable our partners to make sure that they feel comfortable selling that offer.
So how does one Lenovo fit into that? Is that a part of that shaping motion of making sure that you and the partners are going in the same direction and that you have a sense of equity in the go-to-market process?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, I think if you look at the value that we bring maybe versus others is we can sell a total solution. I think there's only a couple OEMs left in the market that can truly sell the full solution, right? We can sell from pocket to cloud. And really what we're trying to arm, my channel team and our engineers is around one Lenovo, selling the full solution, not selling, product based solutions. I think, as we talked about earlier, I think that's where services come into play. That's the glue, both for us and the partner, and typically will help from a profitability perspective. So we want this kind of one Lenovo mindset where, again, we're out there solving true business outcomes for our customers, not siloed into certain products or certain BUs, but selling the full portfolio.
Uh, and I agree with you. Lenovo does have a good end-to-end story to talk about. I've actually not, you know, articulated it like you just did from,
Yep.
what is it, pocket to the data center.
Yep.
And I think there's a lot of value that comes with that. But your partners are not all equal. You have a very diverse network of different types of partners of different specializations, different capabilities, different sizes, and different customer sets. How does do you expect them all to wrap themselves into this new Lenovo 360 mold, or is there enough flexibility in here to where you've taken the considerations that they're not all the same?
Well, no, I think all partners yeah, look and feel differently, right? Um, and I think our partners have consistently asked for simplicity, predictability, and fair recognition for their investment, right? And I think the structure removes friction from engagement and it aligns to real business performance and makes it easier to scale profitably with us. Partners now, I think, have access to one unified model with clear progression logic, fewer, more meaningful incentives, and a greater focus on total partner value. So I think by rewarding the total partner performance, partners can unlock greater incentives by expanding across devices, infrastructure, and services. And I think for our partners, this is a shift from managing programs to driving growth. We all hear about partners that have to manage all of these different programs from all the vendors. So I think that's one of the things that helps making work with Lenovo one of the easiest vendors to do business with. And I think in a market where partner programs can be complex and inconsistent, I think we're focused on delivering a simpler, more predictable experience.
So when we talk about services, it's a combination of managed services, which is a growing part of your partner relationships and of your indirect revenue.
Yep.
Um, I believe you're reporting out it's more than 100 million or so, and growing. It's also the professional services that drive towards these better outcomes. Does that take the pressure off of you when you're saying, okay, simplify but more meaningful or more impactful incentives? Um, but also coupling it with these services, does that take pressure off Lenovo in terms of being uh, the source of partner profitability? That there's more upside on the services for them.
Well, I think we do a pretty good job. And I think if you look at TrueScale 2.0, that, we really tried to shape our program on how we augment partner services. So I don't think it's one or the other, right? Certainly we want to go drive services, but we want to go drive services with and through our partners. And we've seen a lot of growth with our partners through what we call LGFS, our Lenovo Global Financial Services. And like I said, updating our TrueScale 2.0 offering helps partners' ability to drive the conversation of OpEx versus CapEx conversations with customers. Um, and really, the way that I think about it, Larry, is how are we complementing the partner services with our services to go deliver value to the customer?
You does does the customer recognize that though? I mean, one of the things that I've heard, I love talking with sales reps
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
because it's it's good to be reminded of, singular track thinking. It's like, just go kill.
Yeah.
Let's just
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
make the number,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I've had the opportunity to talk with several that will say about, okay, if I introduce the partner side of this, the partner services into the customer deal, we run the risk of outpricing the deal for the customer and losing the opportunity. And my response to that is that, so you're going to lie to the customer.
Yeah.
You're going to tell the customer that the TCO is this, and then they're going to experience something else later.
Yeah.
Um, but how do you balance that? Because, like I said, we mentioned this earlier. As much as we want to look at the economy today and say all the indicators are at least stable or pointing up, um, there's a lot of pain that's going on out there, and there's a lot of pricing pressures that are hitting the customers, which is constraining their budgets. So how do you balance out these value propositions versus the expense?
Well, I think I mean, I'm a sales guy at the end of the day, kind of like you said, I think the scoreboard will reflect it. Like I said earlier, I mean, through our partners, we grew 2x the overall IT market from a services perspective in FY 26, right? Um, and again, I think it's being able to augment each other and leverage each other's capabilities. I mean, we have many examples, I think, where we have large customer wins, especially in the commercial segment or the public segment, education or higher ed, where we're delivering the total service via the partner community today.
You mentioned finance, the Lenovo finance arm.
Yep.
How significant is having financing options available to customers through partners or just to the partners themselves to structure these deals in terms of facilitating sales and growth?
I think it's really important today, and something we're really trying to get our teams to go have the conversations, build in our tools for our partners, especially in the environment that we're in. You think about, asset recovery services. Those are important right now. Leasing, driving that in this market that's unpredictable, from a supply chain and a pricing perspective. We're really trying to make sure that we're enabling our partners and our teams to go out there and have those conversations. And when I think about the life cycle services that our partners have capabilities, I think us leaning into that together, this environment, is how we separate and execute and win.
So, Wade, one of the things that I watch, whether we're talking about your mobile devices or
Yep.
your PCs or even the boxes you sell in the data centers, we're at a point where it used to be that I think we've already passed a line where it used to be that we're always looking to reduce the prices of these products. Let's drive
Yep.
out the cost of the components and the inputs, bring the price points down, sell them on volume. Now because of the infusion of AI and the need to do these refreshes, PCs and servers are becoming premium devices again,
Yeah.
and that the prices are going up. What do you see over the next 12 to 18 months for you and your partners in terms of what's the market going to look like? What's it going to bear? And how is it going to change, in terms of prospecting and selling?
Yeah. Look, I don't have a crystal ball. But look, I think we're in a really good position. I think having the number one PC company in the world gives us reach and scale. And I think we can leverage, our supply chain, which Gartner says is the number one supply chain globally, to help us execute and deliver, which is what our partners and our customers are asking us for more than ever now. Larry, I think it's less about pricing and can you deliver at the end of the day, in these current market conditions, and constraints. I think you're seeing that play out in real time now. We're really proud if you think about what we called our Chop Choice Express solutions, which are kind of on ready server solutions. We're delivering those with and through our partners in about 9 to 12 days, which is really significant in this environment. But but go back to the program. I believe our job is really to simplify the engagement and help make the complex outcomes repeatable more than one-off efforts, right? And I think we'll continue to be channel centric in everything that we do. We don't change our strategy quarter to quarter, year to year. I mean, if you look at the channel business in North America, 80% of our revenues go with and through our partner community. So, I think the partners see and feel our commitment there. I think we've been very disruptive this year from a data center perspective. And that's one of the things that really excites me coming over here 8 months ago.
Yeah. Wade, final question for you, because like Lenovo has a reputation for being a very channel centric
Yeah.
organization. The program has, you know, over the years, and the number of people I've spoken with at Lenovo that always talk about always aiming towards, you know, removing friction from the partnership or the partnerships. Mark Twain said that he would have written something shorter if he had more time. When or like Steve Jobs said, is like,
Right.
simplicity is hard.
Yeah.
So thinking about what you've done, this aim of being a simpler structure, simpler to do business with, which I will tell you that Challenomics, our research has told us, is
Yeah.
that this is the biggest driver of partner behavior and productivity is ease of doing business.
Yep.
Not incentives, not anything else. This is number one. So what advice would you give to a peer on how to make programs simpler?
Yeah. Look, I think simplification matters. I think reducing program and engagement complexity helps partners focus on selling and delivering value versus navigating internal friction. I think flexible commercial models enable scale. So, like we talked about, financing, consumption based offerings help partners take on larger, more complex deals with less risk. And I think continue to focus on programs and incentives that align growth and profitable growth to our partners. Right. At the end of the day, this is about profitability for our partner community and ourselves. And so I think making sure that our programs align to that and keep that in mind. And then we said about it earlier, just this deep technical enablement is critical, right? And I think the training must reach the architects and engineers and not just the executives to go support this kind of complex AI hybrid solutions world that we're living in. So, I said it before, our ambition for the future or our vision is to be the most trusted, most consistent, most scalable vendor partner in the industry.
Very good. Wade, it's been a pleasure having you here. Thanks for joining us.
Larry, enjoyed it. Thank you.
Well, that's about all the time we have for this edition of Changing Channels. Again, I want to thank our guest, Wade McFarland, the Vice President of Channels for North America at Lenovo. And as always, I want to thank all of you for joining us. We do Changing Channels to help share experiences and knowledge so everybody can benefit and learn in the channel. If you like what we're doing here, please hit like, hit subscribe, tell your friends. Also, check out our other podcasts in the margins and the network effect. And also check out all the great products, services, best practices, and research we have at Challenomics. Until next time, I'm Larry Walsh.